Hey friends, Leigh Brown here. Welcome back to My Kitchen, My Rules. I hope you saw the teaser video about how to properly get your pans ready for baking with some shortening and some flour. And what we're going to fix today is what I lovingly refer to as bereavement bread, which is pumpkin bread. So why am I making it today? Well, those of y'all that know, if I find out that somebody has passed, I do my best to drop off some pumpkin bread. And sometimes it's pound cake. It depends on, frankly, what I'm in the mood to cook and what I have available. And then I found out by Facebook that a good friend of mine lost his daddy. So I said, well, let me make a fresh batch of pumpkin bread so we can take care of people. Because y'all, the days have passed and need to come back again when we did a better job of looking out for each other in times of stress and anxiety. And death is definitely one of those times. So we're going to start off with some white lily flour. You know I don't use anything else if I can help it. And what we're doing, by the way, today, I'm doubling my recipe because pumpkin bread freezes really nicely. So make some for your family and then make some for bereavement. Keep it in the freezer, and then if you need to jump it out because somebody has had a moment, if you didn't have time to make some fresh, you can still get the job done. Now it calls for 2 cups of flour. So for you math geniuses, you notice that that's 4 cups of flour in today's recipe. And if you've wondered why exactly it is that I'm measuring, well, it's because with baking, you have to measure because it's science and chemistry. And I'm looking for my teaspoon measure here because in addition to 2 cups of all-purpose flour, by the way, this is not self-rising, you need a half a teaspoon of salt. So we're going to double it, right? So that's a teaspoon of salt. I know y'all are not used to watching me measure. It's probably throwing you off right now. Sprinkle it around. And by the way, you put your dry ingredients in one bowl together. We'll put the wet ingredients in together as well. That changes everything with bacon. Now we need baking soda. And we need, by the way, I'll show you all the difference. Baking soda says baking soda on the box. And baking powder says baking powder on the canister. I have discovered in life that there are some people that don't seem to know the difference. So I'm concerned about their literacy skills, frankly. And so we need a teaspoon of baking soda, so double it. And then we need a half a teaspoon of baking powder. So let's double that. Got another one. Shazam. There we go. That's also a fun science experiment for you kids in the house. Get out the baking powder and baking soda and then get on the interwebs and see all the things they can fix there. We need a teaspoon of clove, and not the clove that y'all smoked in college, although that really smelled good. Do y'all remember that? I think it's only a collegiate thing. But we're gonna get, instead of 1 teaspoon, we're doubling it. That's why it's kind of confusing, friends, when you double a recipe. You really have to pay attention. I should be looking at the camera more to say, hey to y'all, but I'm trying to notice what I had put in my container. Then we need cinnamon. And the cinnamon that I use is from Savory Spice, which is my favorite spice shop in Charlotte, where they will give you all kinds of education on different kinds. There were like 5 zillion kinds of cinnamon. I did not even know because I was so used to using just the regular store-bought one. And then we're going to get some ground. I got to close that clove thing up. It's killing me here because it's not closed right. And y'all have already seen how I operate. I can't stand to have a dirty or incomplete kitchen. I'm going to pass this off stage here to somebody I gave birth to get the lid back on there. Okay, and then we need a teaspoon of nutmeg. So let's put 2 teaspoons in. Nutmeg, by the way, if you did not know, get you a bowl of Breyer's ice cream and sprinkle some nutmeg on top. Oh, that's good. Because Breyer's is the only vanilla to eat, frankly, in the way of ice cream. And nutmeg on top just makes it some more special. All right, now we're going to take a fork and mix it up. And you want to make sure that you get the pockets of spices distributed, or you'll have some loaves that are extra spicy and some that feel kind of sad. And we don't want to send sad bread out for bereavement. This is intended to make somebody smile and to heat it up and have it with a cup of coffee. And when I send this out for bereavement, I tell people they do not have to share with anybody unless they don't care for pumpkin bread, in which case just share away. All right, so we've got that mixed in pretty good. You don't have to sift for pumpkin bread like you do for some cakes because it doesn't need that airiness. But if you want to, I reckon you could. Okay, that is our dry ingredients. We won't need that for a minute, so let's set that here. And now we're going to get the other big bowl that we have for our wet ingredients. And so you need 1.5 sticks of butter. I know, right? 1.5 sticks. And so this right here is 3 cups of softened butter. When you're thinking softened, get it like this, where you got a little bit melted and a little bit solid. If it's too solid, it won't quite mix right. And if it's all the way melted, it won't quite mix right. And then we need sugar. And let's see how much we need. 2 cups of sugar. And you know what kind we're using, right, friends? The only kind of sugar I buy is Dixie Cyrstals. And I have seen some of y'all are buying that other brand in the grocery store because nobody told you any different. I'm going to tell you what, there's a huge difference in sugar, just like there's this giant difference in flour. So that is 2 cups for each of our recipes. My lid just fell off. I'll fix that in a second. So we need 4 cups of sugar. Now, if you're so inclined, you could always change out for some brown sugar. But if you're substituting white sugar for brown sugar, use the light brown. That dark brown's got more molasses in it, and it can mess up your consistency. And by the way, Dixie Cyrstals make brown sugar too. I'm just saying. Here, child I gave birth to. Can you fix that lid for me? Thank you. And then we're going to need to get our mixer here. I love my hand mixer. And if you want to know why I bought the KitchenAid, it's because it was red. And I thought it would look pretty. And so we're going to mix up the butter and sugar just until it's blended. And it's doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be super duper smooth. Just get it mixed in so you don't have super pockets of dry sugar. And then we're going to add some eggs. 2 eggs per recipe means we need 4 eggs. So, for the sake of not trying to be fancy and not dropping shells in while I'm on camera, I would normally do it while I go, but I'm going to be reasonable here. Mixing your eggs 1 at a time, friends. If you put in all 4, you are taking your life into your own hands, frankly. And I need to wipe my hands off there, get the yolk off of them. So mix that in a little bit. By the time you get to egg number 4, friends, it's going to feel pretty soupy. But that's all right, because it's supposed to. You'll mix it in with the dry ingredients. Just remind yourself of that. So that's 1. Here comes number 2. And these, by the way, came from my mama's chiropractor, raises chickens and does some pretty good eggs. But it won't be long before we have some coming up around here at our house. And that'll be some exciting times when we can use our own fresh eggs. And then any of y'all that are anywhere in the vicinity can buy them from Timmy's egg operation. He'll probably charge too much because he's pretty intent on getting a fair market price, which means the highest price available. So just be aware. All right. Oh, piece of eggshell got away. Always catch those before they get lost in there. You hate to have a bereavement bread go out and somebody break a tooth. That would be a little expensive, and they might get their feelings hurt. And that was a pretty thick eggshell. That don't happen on them store-bought eggs, you know? You have to have the homemade eggs for that. Of course, I guess they're all homemade if we're honest about it. All right, so that's egg number 3. And we'll have egg number 4 here in 2 shakes, soon as that one's all the way mixed in. And I'm beating on a medium speed. You can go to high speed, but then things tend to take off across the countertop. These are some big eggs. I don't know what Dr. Ted is doing back there with his eggs. But good Lord, that is a very intense sidewall there. That was going to be a very healthy baby chick. Oh well, now it's going to be pumpkin bread. Hey! Okay, so we're going to get that mixed in until it's pretty smooth. And actually now I will take it up a notch because my last of my eggs is in. And now that all 4 eggs are in, you do mix until it gets kind of a good creamy and fluffy look to it. The mixer, if you didn't know, doesn't just mix up your ingredients. This is how you get air into your ingredients so that things aren't super dense and disgusting. If you've ever wondered why your stuff is really dense, it could be that you did not follow the instructions for how long to run your beater. And so most of these recipes will call for you to run it for 2-3 minutes or thereabouts. But you'll see that as you keep on beating at a high speed, it starts to hold its shape a little bit and it fluffs up. That's how you know, friends, that it's going to be good. All right, now, each one of these recipes would call for a can of pumpkin, I use LIBBY'S pumpkin because that's the one they sell around here and it tends to be good. So make sure, by the way, you don't buy by accident pumpkin pie mix, because then you are actually adding in like all the other things besides the pumpkin. So just get plain pumpkin. They also sell organic, but I think that's kind of a rip-off to get an extra $1 out of your pocket, because all they're doing is charging you for other vegetables. Now, I have seen an organic farm here down in Robeson County near Lumberton, and he told me all the things he had to jump through with the FDA and the USDA and what all else to be certified organic. It is crazy stuff, to the point where they had to get rid of their cats because the cats could change the soil composition. I felt sad for him because he looked like he missed his cats very much, and he also missed the work they used to do, getting rid of the mice and rodents around the farm. All right, so once we get the pumpkin mixed in, oh, saw that little bit of junk, Lord, I'm going to mop the floor. Well, it's all right, because if I'm taking care of somebody in bereavement, I can mop the floor. That will be fine. Now, the bowl's getting kind of full, so I do want to scrape down the edges so that it can be evenly mixed, and I don't wind up with butter and sugar pockets that haven't mixed in with the pumpkin. And you're going to be thinking, when you look at my mixture here, you're going to say, that looks kind of gross, Leigh. Yeah, it doesn't look real good right now, but you have to trust me, okay? Do you trust me? I mean, I guess you do. Because some of y'all have been logging in and enjoying the recipes and then telling me you have no intention of cooking. And I value that, because I understand why you don't want to cook. Same reason I don't really want to sew. I know how, and I do not intend to. All right. If you hate that sound, by the way, and you're wondering why I don't have one of those mixers with the rubber beaters, it's because I had one time. It didn't work so good. Now, that's what it looks like, okay? It doesn't look super amazing, but I promise you, it's going to be all right. So now we got to mix these two bowls in together. So let's put the eggs out the way here. And, perfect world. Oh, I guess I'm going to, I got them back, my bowls backwards, friends. Oh, well. You would normally mix in your dry into the wet, but we'll go wet into the dry. If you're going to do that, though, you put your mixers all the way down, low speed, and graciously, slowly, carefully mix it in. If I had my bowls in the right order, you put the dry into the wet so you can control the mess on your countertop. But we're just going to go slowly around. Now, this is the point where you don't really want to overmix. So I told y'all before to get that wet stuff nice and fluffy, but you don't want to overmix when you put it into the dry, because that's when you get your tough bread again. So put another scoop of wet in here. Tastes good. And yes, I know I just ate raw eggs. I like living on the edge. I think some of y'all think you're gonna live forever. And I'm pretty sure some of y'all think you're never gonna get sick and everything's perfect. But you gotta listen, Mama Leigh knows. You're gonna get sick at some point. You're gonna walk outside and you're gonna hug somebody. They don't know they got a cold and they give it to you. And you need to be grateful for the hug and be grateful to have friends. And understand life's not perfect. We have no guarantees. The only guarantee we have is death. And God help us all. We can definitely guarantee taxes nowadays, since those people in elected office seem to think money grows on trees. I'm beginning to think none of them had any financial education. But speaking of finances, this pumpkin bread is a very inexpensive thing to do for a friend or for your family. And so this can be, for this double recipe, I mean, we're probably talking, I don't know what, $10 or thereabouts, because you can use the rest of your, there we go, sugar and spices and other things, dollar cost averaging. There we go. Now, it actually's got a very pretty ombre look to it right now. Now, y'all wish you could be licking and tasting along with me. You're over there raising your hand for the bowl. Okay. I will tell you that if you have not gone over to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that'd be all right. It's over there. And Leigh Brown, speaker, I think. Or maybe it's Lee Brown, not Remax. No, it's Lee Brown Speaker. Or Lee Thomas Brown. I can't remember what we renamed it. All right, we got it just mixed in. Or give me a share. Or show me a picture when you make what I've made. And maybe I'll send you a loaf of pumpkin bread. Maybe I'll just give somebody a surprise. Oh, I know a better idea. Listen, there's somebody in your life that could use a surprise and would eat somebody random's homemade pumpkin bread. My kitchen's clean, I promise, and I wash my hands on the regular. So if you know somebody that needs to have a prize sent to them, let me know and I'll send out a loaf of pumpkin bread to them, courtesy of you. But don't have me send it to some person who's all nervous about the world, because that would waste the pumpkin bread. And y'all, this mess is good. All right. Now let's park this over the other bowl so that it will not drip on my countertop, making a bigger mess than I have already made. Get my spatula here. This is what your mix looks like. Doesn't that look good? Now we're gonna get our pans that I have prepped in advance as I try to stay in the space where y'all can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to abide by y'all's feedback because I don't have like a, studio kitchen or crew or none of that. All right. You want to fill up. I'm using a mini loaf pan. You can use a big loaf if you want. I use minis because so many people are indeed watching carbs and calories. They don't want me to send a whole loaf. So I don't. I send a small one. And that way you can feel indulgent without feeling nervous. So fill it about half full. I will suggest that if you get a little blotch on the edge like that, take care of that because it won't cook right. Now, our oven, which I forgot to turn on, it's not going to 320, it's going to 325. This will be one of our very rare recipes that is not, come on now, it's not at 350. So 325, if you're cooking a real loaf, like a whole loaf pan, that's gonna cook in about an hour. These will probably take in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 minutes, but you have to keep an eye on them because they're smaller. And you just cook it until a knife or a toothpick inserted in it comes out clean. And I'll show y'all what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. And then I'll tell you how to get it wrapped up for freezing and for shipping. Hey friends, here's your final product. Woo! I know y'all like to see what it looks like when it's done. It's amazing. So I got 10 mini loaves out of a doubled recipe for this pumpkin bread. Obviously, if you make a single recipe, you math geniuses can figure out that's 5 minis. Now the mini loaf pans come in 4, so it's kind of like the whole hamburgers and hot dogs. The amounts don't match the buns for some reason. But if you make a large single loaf, just have a mini pan nearby for the excess unless you want to eat the raw batter, and I won't judge you. Now you should know this stuff freezes super well. I wrap mine in wax paper first and then cover it up in tin foil, then put it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't get freezer burn. It also mails really well when it's been frozen, and people will tell you it's good when it gets to their house. So think about doing something nice next time you have a bereavement issue in your friend and family sphere, and until then, I'll see you next time in my kitchen.